Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Hi, everybody. It's June the 21st, and it's time for our talk show call. Tonight, our special guest is Tami Pepperman. Hi, Tami.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm sure everyone is familiar with you by now. Those of you that are not, it's not because we haven't made the links available and all the information on the website. We have links to her scribed page, whatever you call it, where her documents are posted. And I also have links to other calls that Tami's done the past couple of weeks, so you can catch up. She's real informative and real educational, so I hope you are ready for a big treat tonight. What are you going to talk to us about tonight?
I just assumed that we were going to just take calls.
You want to just
I think
take
that's
questions?
the easiest. Yeah, because it seems so much easier when we can associate, and then rather than listening to me go on and on and on and on without an association.
Alrighty. Well, anyone that has a question or would like to communicate something to Tami, go ahead and press *8, and that'll put you in line. Chappie, you want to ask questions? Let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. We have Texas wants to ask you a question, so let's get started, and then Chappie, you're next. Go ahead, Texas. Did you have a question for Tami Pepperman?
Hello, Tami. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I found out about. I'm sorry. I found out about you last week, and what I'm trying to do is I have a mortgage, and I know everything about the deed of trust and the promissory note is a fraud, and I want to take them to court. What suggestions do you have for me as far as preparing for court?
Have you demanded the wedding signature?
No, I haven't sent them a QWR yet, but I have sent them a UCC 9-210 statement of account request. I don't use any of their forms. When somebody comes into court and they ask you, they're asking the court to determine something. And in a foreclosure case, they're coming into court and saying that there's a default on a contract. Now, when you demand the wedding copy of your contract, the original, you want the wedding signature of the contract, and they don't produce it, then what are you doing in court? That's when you start indicting them for vexatious litigation, because here they have you in court on a vexed question. They're wasting the court's time. This is criminal contempt of court, fraud upon the court. They're wasting your time. Here they've injured you. Right.
They facilitated an injury against you, so you have to just follow right through. When is the foreclosure supposed to take place, or has it taken place?
No, it hasn't taken place yet. And actually, I want to be. I'd like to take them to court before that stuff happens, before the foreclosure sales date. So I'm just trying to.
So if you're this far ahead of it, what you want to do is you want to do quickly a demand for the original wedding contract. And in your demand letter, I have a form somewhere. I'll have to find it. But in the demand letter, you need to disqualify any and all MERS agents or, quote, experts that come in to state that they're a witness to the contract. And you need to do that with the demand letter to make sure that they don't come in and say, well, I know there's a contract. It doesn't matter if they know there's a contract. It doesn't matter if they have 20 people saying there's a contract. If there's not a contract, there's not a contract. So make sure you nullify that ability. And upon doing so with the demand, when you don't get a response, give them 20 days is normal for discovery. When you don't get a response, then you go after them and say, well, what do you have in court? And motion to show cause vexatious litigation.
Okay, great. Because MERS just did a corporate assignment for deed of trust from the original lender who's on my deed of trust, who doesn't have any records of my whatever closing, to my current servicer. Right. So I know MERS can't do anything because they're just a nominee and they don't have any interest, Well, they do because the municipal employees' retirement securities is a little bit different than what you're told MERS is. MERS, you're told that it's a mortgage registry. It is not. The entity that sells the houses or sells these homes is a judicial sales corporation. And so each municipality is getting an influx of this amount, whatever amount is in there, and they're not selling or bartering the real property. They're bartering the real estate, which is you. That's you and your productive value. So what you want to do is you want to get in front of them and start indicting them now, and then pulling the sureties out of their hands, pulling it out of the hands of the attorneys to court and everybody else, because they've wrapped around you and they've made it harder for you. You may have been blackballed with your employment. You have an accidental bank issue where they put you behind 1 month. Everybody's living hand to mouth. So if your bank quote accidentally messes up and throws you behind, or accidentally bounces a check, accidentally does this or this, it's intentional, and the intention is to start you on the rolling ball downhill to foreclosure. And upon the foreclosure, the sheriff's getting that right back, and it's going back into the municipality. Instead of allowing that to happen, these people are supposed to be your fiduciary and trust. They're supposed to be protecting you, and they've broken that trust completely, and all they're doing is generating revenue, and it's time to start indicting them and getting them out of the pocket of the citizenry and back where they belong, which is in prison.
Okay. Great. All right, well, I guess I'll start this then.
All right, and go ahead and add us to Skype. My Skype name is Tami Pepperman. And we do this, we talk all throughout the day. We can go through your case, and there's a bunch of us that just get together, and we'll, whatever you need to know, then we have that information, and there's a whole bunch of us that are behind you all the way. We want to get this done, and we need to do this as quickly as possible to get them off of our backs.
Right. Okay, sounds good. Right.
All right, be well.
All righty, great. Thank you so much. Chappie, go ahead. Did you want to ask some questions?
Yeah, hi, Tami. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I got some people that asking me to ask you questions, and so it'd be like 4 people asking, I guess.
Okay.
One is, how does this work for my foreclosure? Is one question.
Right, and that's what we were speaking about. When they come in on a foreclosure, what's happened is it's called fraudulent conveyance from the inception. So here your home, you yourself, your real estate, rather than the real property. When you take out a loan, you're actually giving them credit against you, the estate, the real estate, and upon that, then they start transferring you out, and it's a conveyance. So one bank sells to the next bank, and one bank sells to the next bank, and the next bank, and the next bank, and the next bank. And what they're doing is they're hedging bets. These are municipal hedge funds, and they're hedging the bet against your productive value. So what you want to do is you want to pull all of that amount back in, put it in your pocket, take it away from them, take it out of the MERS accounts, and put them in prison. I mean, that's our requirement. That's our obligation. It's to stop this completely. This is called human trafficking. When they're moving you around, it doesn't matter if you're in the hypothecated state. They're still moving you, the being, around and around and around and around. And it's all relying on your human production.
Right.
And part of that is through the medical and psychological industries. And it's horrifying what they're doing, and we've got to make them stop.
Yeah, and that's what, and one of those preceding documents to do that is the forgiveness document, right?
Right, and it forgives your debt as the creditor. And what that says is, I don't want you anymore to administer me. You have not adhered to the trust. You were my fiduciary and trust. You didn't do anything to protect me, so I'm taking over from here. I forgive all of my debt as the creditor, and I'm going to be responsible now for myself. I'm going to self-govern. I'm going to take care of myself because I do a lot better job than you do, including the fact that I'm not going to kill me on purpose. I'm not going to take my house on purpose. I'm not going to steal every last cent I have on purpose. And so therefore I'll take over from here. Right. And then from the forgiveness doc, you bounce into the executive appointment and appointing yourself as the executor of your estate,
allows you to be the administrator and takes it away from the court.
Okay, now the second question is, how do I handle my construction after filing paperwork? He's a contractor in California, and they even are giving him a little bit of a hard time because he has a notice of tax lien or something, and I guess they might be giving him a little hard time about renewing his license until he pays the debt. So how would he handle that and keep his contractor's license to stay in business?
Well, there's a couple things that he needs to be aware of. If this is through the what appears to be the federal state, which is called the IRS, that one is Northern Trust Holdings. He needs to come up against them and indict them for what they're doing, using especially equitable estoppel, motion for equitable estoppel. You're coming in and you're saying you don't have any jurisdiction, you don't have any authority, whatever else. If there's no court case and you have somebody harassing you, and it looks like it should be legal, they're not simulating legal process, you need to indict them for that. If it's DOR, it's the same thing. If they're harassing one of your employers, who you're contracting for, then you need to go after them for criminal coercion.
Well, it wouldn't be. I guess you would isolate it, because it would be like the state taxing authorities are wanting money from him, and they're threatening to stop him from renewing his contractor's license so he can maintain his business. So wouldn't you isolate the problem and say, okay, let's deal with the tax first, and then do an equitable estoppel on that? Then once you do that, then there wouldn't be any problem in him renewing his license. Would you agree with that?
Right. They're not allowed to retaliate against you for charging them with a crime, and the crime in that one was if somebody offers you a contract through the mail, so you get this bill from what appears to be a legitimate agency. DOR is not a legitimate agency. They're an agency by estoppel. So you get this letter that says, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. This is criminal coercion. So if they say, if you don't pay this amount of money, which is ransom, we're going to take your license, which is part of ransom. That's piracy, criminal coercion. You need to start indicting them for these things. The national state is injuring you as well, because you are a state of the United States. When a foreign nation comes up and against you and injures you as the United States, they're perpetrating espionage and treason. So you need to be fully aware of who you're dealing with. It is not a government function. It is a foreign nation outside of the U.S. government.
Yep. Okay, the third question is, how do we handle my minor daughter's paperwork? I'm not too sure about that question.
I haven't been able to find any other reason not to do the forgiveness doc for you and then administer your estate, because part of that is you're forgiving your debt and the debts of any and all heirs. It stops with you. You're taking away their ability to administer your estate, and part of that, your children are an extension of you.
Right.
And so,
as long as they're a minor, they're under your care and supervision.
Right, and there is no lineage. Once you forgive your debt, they're done with your successors as well.
Yeah, okay. And the last question is, how do we file against a local corporate sheriff against our arrest from foreclosure? And I guess that goes back to the answer on number 1.
Right, and you'd want to do kidnapping against the sheriff, because they are a corporation. First of all, Walmart is not allowed to kidnap you. Second of all, the whole sham of the foreclosure, showing the appearance of a law enforcement agency is not the same as having law enforcement. So here's a statutory enforcer. There's no such thing as a statute enforcer. You don't pay for a statute enforcer. You pay for a public servant who actually works for you. And again, they're your fiduciary trust. They have a trust relationship. They have an obligation to you, not to the corporation. And so what you'd want to do. If it's larceny by trick, you go against the court. Larceny by trick, larceny by extortion, aggravated larceny because the sheriff's involved, and then kidnapping by fraud.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll waive. Let's get back to see who else has questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move along here. Let's see who's next is Tom McFadden. Go ahead, Tom. Hi.
Hi, sweetie.
How are you?
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
I bring this forth in the research on the insurance policies for blanket coverage for a county on California. They have a specific index number for kidnapping and extortion insured against by the insurance carrier providing it to the county.
Right.
So these are paying for kidnapping and extortion insurance policy. And so that makes you think that what they're engaged in is kidnapping.
Right. Right, and it's written now into the North Carolina statutes as well. In North Carolina, after we facilitated the first kidnapping charge there, their state statute actually reflected that, and it says if any corporation or firm, so they're talking about attorneys now, is found guilty of kidnapping, they're going to lose their corporate charter, and they'll have up to a $100,000 fine, that's fine. The $100,000 fine is something that's so ridiculous because what they've done is they've impeded you. There's $33 billion on each one of these cases, and the fine is nothing in comparison to the torts against you and the other crimes. I mean, you have kidnapping by fraud, you've got larceny by trick, you have larceny by extortion, you have aggravated larceny, and this is only until the title changes on a home. If the deed changes hands and the title changes, then you go into the embezzlement aspect of this, because this is the judicial sales corporation selling your home, the judicial sales corporation. Now here's a judge that's selling your home and pocketing all this money. There's attorneys that are fee splitting. They're supposed to be your fiduciary trust. These original loans, the bank took credit against you. You're holding on to the collateral by being in that home. So all around, it's always just a circle jerk. It's never ever legitimate for what they're doing, and so we have to start indicting them, from inception. I mean, the minute you're born and your mom assigns you on accident, she doesn't realize she's assigning you as a stock option or whatever. You need to start going after them. The House of Delegates. The House of Delegates is the Senate Judiciary Committee. They're the ones that control the American Bar Association. They have the full-on authorization to control the American Bar. So you want to go up against people like Senator Patrick Leahy. He's the president of the Senate Judiciary Committee for larceny of lost, mislaid, undelivered product, because that's what you are. When they start moving you around as a negotiable instrument, they're now in the commitment, or they're commencing the action of larceny of lost, mislaid, or delivered product.
Which ties right into the fact that they're arrogating, alienating, and plundering the assets of a registered vessel. Now, another question I have, the motion for equitable estoppel is not the absolute original closed and extraordinary writ of mandamus, is it? It's a separate document.
It is a separate document.
Okay.
It's a separate
and then
document.
Go ahead.
That writ, the extraordinary writ, is also the writ of fere fascis. So you put them, we combine them into the same document. So you have the execution, as well as you're telling that you're directing the bishop to let the goods be known, the clerical goods be known. So any and all retirement benefits they have, any and all municipal benefits they have, whatever they have held in stock, that's under the bishop. And so you want that to be made known by the bishop, and then you want to execute that rate itself. And that's all in one document.
That's all in one document. So the motion for equitable estoppel is a different document, this. But I guess what I'm trying to determine here is based upon that state executor order about forgiving all debts.
Right.
When one files that, does he want to file that with the clerk of the court, or does he want to file that with the judge and the office of the U.S. trustee and the U.S. trustee privately?
Well, the equitable estoppel itself, that goes to the local court that you're in right now, because what it is it's saying that they don't have any jurisdiction. It's directed at the judge and at the court, saying, well, you know, here somebody brought me in to this case by false language or conduct, which means that somebody came in with a lie. They said that I was doing something wrong or I'd broken some kind of law or whatever. And so you're telling the court you don't have any jurisdiction to hear this matter because this matter doesn't exist. It never existed. And then from there on out, if the court doesn't want to adhere to that motion for equitable estoppel, if they try to deny it, there's no denying it. You're not asking the court to determine anything. You're telling the court by the evidence you don't have any jurisdiction. I'm here based on fraud. Somebody brought me in here fraudulently, so you need to deal with this as my fiduciary trust. If they do not want to take the fiduciary trust and adhere to it and be an actual court of law, then you just start indicting the court and tear it all apart, because then at that point, that court is absolutely condemned by the actions of that judge or the attorney.
Okay, so if one has a bankruptcy case that has not been closed yet, the documents to put in there would be the notice of the executor, forgiveness of all the debts, and request the absolute original closed extraordinary writ of mandamus for them to go ahead and fulfill the obligation as the fiduciaries to identify the assets of the estate, or no, that's totally off base. That ain't going to work.
No, the writ of fear just always goes to the bishop over in Canterbury, New York, as well as the House of Lords. When you send it to them, they have the authority as the bishop. The archbishop sitting on the House of Lords, there's two different kinds. One holds the ecclesiastical goods, one holds the spiritual. And so you want to nail them both, because that's where you went. I mean, that's where your body went upon the ordinance by William I. So you want to pull it out of their benefits from the bishop trust. The judge doesn't hold anything in trust. He's just a beneficiary of all this shit. And what they're doing is fee splitting. So everything's held in like the MERS accounts, municipal employees, retirement account securities, public employees, retirement securities. You've got IOTA trusts. You've got all sorts of trusts all around. Every kind of trust you can imagine, Bridges Trust, whatever. The bishops hold those. Westminster holds those. You want to pull it out of the trust accounts, and you want the bishop to make those goods known.
So basically, when the trustee isn't following the lawful request of the party who has filed the bankruptcy case, seeking to have 9 estates identified and those assets brought forward for liquidation and surrender, and they don't do that, basically what they've done now is they're trying to hijack that estate trust account. And what would be appropriate would be this writ of extraordinary writ of mandamus.
Absolutely, over to the bishop. And on top of that, again, this is a trustee that's coming here, and he's perpetrating larceny, so you need to lay down all of the larceny claims. This is larceny by trick, especially, because here you assume that you have a trustee. They're called a trustee. So you're assuming you're being taken care of. Somebody's never, you're not being sodomized, right? But they're actually doing any and all things to harm you. So you need to go in there with larceny by trick, larceny by extortion, if they make the appearance of a sheriff or law enforcement or a bailiff in the courtroom that's armed to the teeth. Larceny of lost, mislaid, delivered product, blah, blah, blah. And you need to start laying those down. And each time they do this, you need to lay it down. So somebody can bring you into court once and twice, 3 times, 4 times. Each time is a separate incident. Each time they take something, or each time an attorney puts a lien on something or whatever, they're committing that again. And so you need to lay it down again and again and again and again until they learn their lesson. And each time you need to do the same writ to the bishop and get their benefits. Now they're the criminal. You want their goods made known. And that's what that writ is. It's any and all clerical goods. These are all clergy on behalf of the bishop. These attorneys and judges, they're working for the bishop. They're not working for us.
Yeah. So basically, the time frame for this to all happen is what, within 90 days, or is there a time limit? Is there some expectation or assumption or presumption that these people are going to get up off their dead duff and grant the writ of mandamus, the absolute original and original close and extraordinary writ of mandamus to Feri Fascius?
Well, I believe that it would be under their rules of procedure over in the UK for the House of Lords is where that would be, because we're working off of the Sesquicentennial Act, which is a UK legislative document. And then followed through with that, they brought forward the Bill of Rights, which is a bill in the nature of a bill of reviving the Sesquicentennial Act. But the original legislation is from the UK. So if they don't want to act on it, then we're going to have to start condemning the House of Lords, apparently. You know, what are they there for if they're not functioning and maintaining the laws that they've written?
Okay, is that it for you, Tom? Thomas?
Sorry, can you hear me? I have one more question. Do you have a sample copy of the motion for equitable estoppel, or is it labeled something different? Because I've been trying. One has been going through the scrib stuff and as best I can, and I have been unable to locate the motion for equitable estoppel.
Okay, there's one on my Facebook page, I know, and I'm sending you one right now in your Skype box, and I think there's one in the Johansson document as well.
There's one in the Johansson documents?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, I've looked at those, but I apparently wasn't looking well enough. I'm sorry, I didn't look at all of them. So I've been reading. So thank you, Tami, and then also, too, do you have an update regarding tomorrow afternoon? Are you going to be indisposed of?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't heard anything, but as soon as I know, I'll let you know.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you, Tami. I love you both. You women are just absolutely phenomenal. My hat's off to you. May Yahweh bless both of you, and bid fare thee well. Bye-bye.
Love
Thank
you
you,
too.
Thomas. God bless you and all that. Okay, next up is Northeast Texas. Go ahead, Northeast Texas. Did you have a question for Tami?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, you're going to have to speak up a little bit, please.
Okay,
Hey, Robert, is that you, Mr. Fox?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm so glad you came on the call. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having Tami on the call. And I talked to Chris Chapman earlier, and he said that Tami would be on your call. But I was also talking to another friend, and he said that Tami may have the answer to this. I have the QSIP number for the case that they're prosecuting me with, which is entirely a bogus case, and it's all about just driving me out of the county and or killing me. And they've hospitalized me 3 times already, and this is a persecution that is now going into its 5th year.
Right.
And they've had me repeatedly in jail and so on. Anyway, I have the QSIP number for the case, and I've subpoenaed the district attorney to bring any and all documentation regarding that QSIP number and the stuff along with it. Well, anyway, excuse me, he denies that he denies having any knowledge of that. But he's not denying it. He's not denying it under penalty of perjury. He's just faking it. Okay.
Right. Let me take off my robe first. That kind of thing.
And and he's actually filed such incredibly silly stuff. They have a response. They try and quash my subpoena, and in it they, it declares that the district attorney doesn't know anything, and this is a statement, like a statement by him, that he doesn't know anything about it. Right. And it's formatted to be an affidavit, except that the affidavit isn't signed by him. It's signed by an assistant, which, one man cannot make an affidavit for another.
Right. Right, but
so
the assistant is a much better fall guy than the regular district attorney, right? The assistant's just the assistant is a fall guy for the district attorney. The district attorney's sure as hell not going to take the fall, so the poor assistant is taking the fall for him. He's the one that put his signature on the affidavit.
Well, he puts his signature on there, but get this, it gets even better because the verification with the notary is not with the document as such. It's on a separate page with the certificate of service. So the only thing that's being notarized is the certificate of service and not the statements in the document.
Right.
But they never expected me to figure that out. So
Right. They're trying to promote some slick games. Now, to find the QSIP number in any case, it's actually based upon the case number of the case. You go to the administrative rules or administrative procedures in your state, the administrative code. You want the emergency rules. You want the emergency rules under the Federal Emergency Management Act. And under those rules, you're going to find your case number. You're going to find everything that you need under the emergency rules that the governor is implementing each and every time he brings in a state of emergency. You are actually the thing being moved around in that state of emergency. You believe that they're planning to fix flooded areas or earthquake-prone areas or whatever else. But if you look under the emergency rules, you will find that they're plotting you. The states of emergency are that you need mental health programs. You need another prison. You need to be funded for putting you in jail or stealing your children. This is what the Federal Emergency Management Acts are doing, and this is what the governor is doing every 4 months, every 6 months, every year. And everything you need to know, the QSIP numbers, bond numbers, sureties, securities, exchanges, assignments, everything, stocks, everything is in there, and then you can follow it all the way through to the small business or small government loan service, or the SBA.gov is what it is, and you can follow everything all the way through, and it matches each and every case number through the administrative code. It's not under statute. Statutory law is just what they tell you what they're doing, but you will find that each case typing maneuver, each case type, case code, everything is codified. So to pull the Emergency Management Acts or the emergency powers, you have to be diagnosed, and that's why everybody's getting a psych eval. Everybody's getting injured. They've tried to kill you. They've taken your property. Each time they touch you or injure you in any way, put you into law, it's another diagnosis. Your diagnosis being bankrupt. Your diagnosis being in foreclosure. You're diagnosed when they falsely accuse you of a crime after they commit the crime. Your diagnosis is a child abuser. Your child's diagnosis child abuse. Your wife's diagnosis mentally ill. Your diagnosis is depressed, whatever. They're the ones that are depressing on you. To depress means to press down upon. So everybody gets to be diagnosed. This is what Jesus was talking about the book, that when you're able to open that book, it pisses you off. Wait till you see the codes. Wait till you see how they codify you and how they move you around as a product. And then it really will piss you off. And then you'll understand why I'm indicting them. I could care less what happens to them. I could care less what happens to their shit. I want them to leave human beings alone and stop trafficking us.
Well, that's definitely what they're doing, trafficking in persons, and
absolutely.
And of course, that's against the law everywhere.
Absolutely.
And so,
get on Skype, and then I'll show you.
A bunch of us are bringing criminal complaints against them because, actually, 4, maybe 5 people will be bringing criminal complaints in the next hearing. And but what I really want is to be able to connect the district attorney with that QSIP number and blow off his claim that he doesn't know anything about it, because he definitely does know about it, and they've gone to great lengths to cover it up.
Absolutely, and you can kind of draw them out because if the prosecuting attorney came in to quash your subpoena, who's he protecting? What are you subpoenaing? Who are you subpoenaing the information from?
The district attorney.
Okay, now that's funny because somebody came in to quash the subpoena, so they're protecting the district attorney. Why? The district attorney can only have a couple functions here. To quash a subpoena, they have to be protecting somebody because, one, they're a minor in need of protection, or two, they're mentally incompetent. So is the district attorney a minor? No. Is the district attorney a minor mentally incompetent? Well, yeah, because the district attorney came in to protect the district attorney. And that's what the Attorney General did out in Oregon. When they had Richard Koenig potted, Richard did a subpoena, and the Attorney General out in Oregon came in to quash his subpoena. Well, he was subpoenaing the records of the Secretary of State because she's the one that brought the allegations against him. So I contacted the Attorney General, and I said, well, what the hell are you doing? Are you protecting the Secretary of State because she's a minor or because she's a mentally incompetent? And all of a sudden, here comes Richard. He's released.
Uh-huh.
You know, yes, pull the Emergency Management Acts. They hold us under bonds of bail for Emergency Management Acts. Pull their Emergency Management Acts. Feed them to the Department of Health and Human Services. Give them to the Department of Health and Human Services. When Stephen Cray, a judge in Wisconsin, he came in without any findings of facts or conclusions of law with an order. So we did a demand for more specific findings of facts and conclusions of law. Upon that time, of course, he couldn't pull anything out of his ass because we had already written the law as it was written. He couldn't find any facts to allow the order that he had written, so he did a sua sponte reconsider motion to reconsider his own order. So here's a judge that issues an order, and then here's the same judge asking himself to reconsider his order. I did a petition for a guardian ad litem because that judge is mentally incompetent or schizophrenic or some other form of mental illness. Feed them to the same system they have us in. Pull their Emergency Management Acts. Pull their emergency rules. Put them in the system. He needs to be protected to death by social services because apparently he's mentally incompetent. Let him be protected to death to the tune of $18,000 a month like they're doing to the citizen. Don't worry about where they're going to be or what they're going to do because they have been trafficking in human beings, if not worse. These are the same predators that are preying on our little children. These are pedophiles. Put them in the system and get them out of our communities.
Beautiful. I may end up contacting you aside from this call for further follow-up.
Right, and Chappie has graciously said that we can do calls through Chappie as well. So I know that you know Chappie, so we can just get together in time. If I'm available and you're available and he's available, then we can get together and talk more about this.
You know, just to share with you in parting that they brought 9 charges against me. They had charges stacked where I was looking at multiple lifetimes in prison, and they have been unable to get so much as 1 day in jail based on a conviction.
Right. So what you need to do, first and foremost, before you indict them, you need to put injunction against them for intimidation, harassment, whatever, assault, whatever else they're doing, threaten to kidnap you, threaten to hold you hostage by action of bail. You need to put the injunctions down. And in the injunctions, you're also going to do some admission statements admitting onto evidence that you are not violent. You are a forgiving man because what they're doing is they're trying to paint you as a violent individual so that your neighbors turn on you. Your neighbors will not protect you after the 3rd time of the police coming out to your house. They're assuming that you've done something wrong and that they are being protected. They have no idea that this is a posturing effect and that they could have the same thing happen to them, and it's just so easy for them, the cops, to put a bullet through your head. Now, what we need to do is get it on evidence that you're not violent, you're not a terrorist, such as they're presenting you. The Southern Poverty Law Center is well known for trying to perpetrate this action and posture against the citizenry of the United States.
Well,
the Southern law.
Yeah, they've been working against me for decades.
Right.
And
right.
They have a program that they have this data, idiot legal arguments, and
right.
they cited my case in there from 1990-91, and this was a federal case. It was cited in the United States Code Annotated, and they put me in there with their idiot legal arguments. The problem for them is they never read the darn case, because I won
right.
the case, and so what kind of an idiot legal argument was there? Only an idiot legal argument by the prosecution.
Right.
And I want to add one thing about Robert here is that we were gonna he was asked if he could be a witness.
Speak up, Chappie.
Okay, he was asked if he could be a witness in a case up in Massachusetts, and the DOJ came back and said, "Oh no, he is a convicted felon, and he's never been convicted."
Right. Right, and that's the Southern Poverty Law Center against you, and they were the same. They were the same entity against Dr. King. They've always been the same entity perpetrating what it's actually terrorism. See, we're pacifists. We're peaceful beings. I'm not a violent individual. You're not a violent individual, but somebody's painting you this way and false flagging you, and they will put on a show. They will put on a really good show. I know that when Jerry and Joe Kane were murdered by police, after the police executed their own, the Southern Poverty Law Center jumped right on this. They're the ones that postured that. I have the autopsy reports for those officers that were slain by their own. They were executed. They were put on their knees, they were hit in the head, and they were executed. While they said that Jerry and Joe Kane murdered them, they did no such thing. Absolutely not. And I invite anybody to add me to Skype, and I will send them the autopsy reports of those law enforcement officials that were murdered by their own. And it was a big, huge cover-up by the Southern Poverty Law Center, as well as the local corrupt county, municipality, and court system.
Wow, that's a whole nother show. We need to have another show on that. I would love to hear your opinion of what went down with that.
I would too. That's if you can back that up, and I'm sure you can.
Absolutely.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll have that. We'll do that on another call, but let's definitely do it.
You're definitely correct, Tammy, about the Southern Poverty Law Center and what they've done, and also these pretend police in Jacksonville, Texas. They attacked me initially with 3 SWAT attacks in less than a month, smashing the doors to smithereens and charging in with their ninja black outfits and machine guns and all that crap. Anyway, they put me on a program like America's Most Wanted, and they had my picture up there like every week for half a year, and they declared in a press conference that I was a wanted fugitive with links to known terrorists, which of course is something that sets me up for any wannabe cop, wannabe bounty hunter to shoot me in the back at the Walmart parking lot.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what they do with each and every one of us that are standing up against a corrupt national state that's perpetrating crimes against the United States of America. And they will continue to do this until they are indicted, until their money, until everything is taken from them. And they do not have this ability any further. We have to stand up now, all as one. We have been painted as the racist. They are freaking racist. We have been painted as intolerant.
I had some information that came across that they're a division of Homeland Security. I
wouldn't doubt it. If you look into their, well, that would probably be in the Department of Justice executive orders. I can look through there and find them for you, and just get with me on Skype, and then remind me later, and we'll go through that and see exactly where they were created at. Or they could be just the arm above that too, because if you If you look at the action of the Senate Judiciary Committee, it's absolutely disgusting. They are the House of Delegates. Patrick Leahy is a freaking pedophile. Dianne Feinstein is a pedophile. Barbara Boxer is a pedophile. And Joseph Biden is the worst. He's the #1 pedophile. Pushing laws. These are privacy laws. The Crimes Against Children Act and the Violence Against Women Act are privacy laws to protect these monsters rather than protecting the citizenry. They're privacy acts. We cannot access them. They hide females as they traffic females and children through, such as the Children of the Underground. That was Faye Yeager's baby. They said that was shut down. It is not shut down. You cannot enter into a domestic violence shelter to save a female that's in hiding there that has had her head beat in by another female and her children. She will change her name, and the minute she changes the names of herself and her babies, they will murder her and traffic the children out of this country. This is what the Violence Against Women Act protects. It does nothing to protect women, men, or children. The Crimes Against Children Act is the same. We have to be
there needs to be a massive exposure of that.
Absolutely, and there was. Senator Nancy Schaefer, she's one of our sisters. Nancy Schaefer did a report to Congress about the corruption of child protection and this industry, and they killed her on April 24, 2010. They murdered her in cold blood. They murdered Bill Bowen. He did a documentary called Innocence Destroyed. You can find it on YouTube. They murdered Bill Bowen. They murdered my brother, Jeff Cefalo, August 30th, 2010, the same year. They attempted on me on May 18th. They will not stop until we stop them. We have to stand up now because there's 200,000 children entering into and going out of the child sex trade industry right here on this soil through the family courts, through probate court, through child protection. They're trading our children in the sex trade industry. They are the sex trade industry. It's hidden. It's hidden by the courts that you think is protecting you. You know they're negotiating you. You know they're moving you around. You know that they're moving your houses around. You've been stolen from and sodomized for years. Nobody has any idea what they're doing to the children. They're entering them into foster care that's raping them. And then all you're seeing on the media is select cases. Very, very few select cases.
Right.
I've indicted nuns. We've indicted nuns. We're not just indicting priests.
The Bible says at 1 Peter 5:8, be wary, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walketh about roaring like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. And then Strong's Concordance says that adversary in that passage means adversary at law. So
absolutely.
Those black robe bastards and prosecutors and all, they are the devil.
They are. They've always been adversary to man. And 20 years ago, they started calling us politically correct. They had spanked us hard enough that we had become a new version of human beings. God created human beings. God did not create PC product. God did not create politically correct. We are not to be politically correct. We are supposed to stand and protect each other and our children. And they have us so effeminized. Our males are so effeminized, they will not stand together. They will not gather around our herd and protect us any longer because they've been put so much into fear of arrest, of imprisonment, of their houses being stolen, their cars being stolen, their families being stolen. Enough is enough. We have to stand now. We're being slaughtered and our children are being, it's the most heinous crimes that they're committing against children. While your back is turned, while you're defending yourself from false allegations, while you're defending your home and your property and trying to keep it, they're preying on our children.
Yeah, well, I've been arrested over 30 times myself. And,
right.
Pardon me?
Right. This is what they do.
And of course, it's like ridiculous nonsense. They come up with anything that they can dream up in order to accomplish their goals. Like, for instance,
absolutely.
They charged me with barratry, even though I couldn't do that, even if I tried.
Right.
and they used that to get the bank into the grand jury. Not the bank. Not I don't have a bank account, but I spearheaded the our church group's drive to raise funding to purchase a new church building, and because of that, they wanted to know how it was that this church building got purchased. So they brought the bank to the grand jury based upon charging me with barratry, where they were able to steal the file cabinets and the files and the rest of that.
Right.
You know, and they just use those, you know, they use fake charges to get their hands on what they really want.
Right. They wanted all the files and they wanted the documentation of the church. So here comes the government function, and they come in and they vilify you to the church, to your own church. They're leading you right out to the edge of our herd so that you can be picked off. So they work on your church to turn against you. They come to your home with guns drawn and SWAT teams. Your neighbors look at this. They're pushing you further onto the edge of the herd because your sheeple neighbors, your retarded neighbors that will never, ever stand up for anybody, including themselves, are sitting there wondering, I wonder what he did wrong.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You're idiots. You know what I mean? So they're pushing you to the edge of the herd so that you can be picked off. You need to be a voice and make sure that your voice is loud and clear, and you need to admit onto evidence that you are nonviolent. I know that you are nonviolent. None of us are violent. They say that we are, but you need to put this on evidence so that their hands are freaking dirty. You have to dirty their hands. You have to make it so that they can't kill you and have clean hands. Enough is enough.
Exactly. Well, it's really refreshing to run into a female that has the moxie that you have.
Oh, thank you. My other half tells me that I have bigger balls than most men, and it's not a compliment to me because I don't want to have bigger balls than most men.
But you know, sadly, your statement earlier is correct. I mean, it seems like most guys are too afraid, you know, that they might get arrested. Well, you know, the way I look at it is, if they're going to arrest me, go ahead and arrest me, you know, because, you know, and I know that, you know, I have a very high probability of a serious beating. I mean, they've beaten me so badly that I was paralyzed for a time.
Mm-hmm.
And in this last round of stuff that, like I say, is going into its 5th year now, I mean, they've hospitalized me 3 times.
Right. We need to start indicting them. Are you in a safe location now?
Well, there's no safe location within the borders of this country.
Right. No, but are you outside of that jurisdiction of the local municipality that was
all they do is call me up and tell me I got to appear in court, and then, you know, I mean, I'm not from here. I was born and raised in Canada, but I've spent the last 32 years in Texas, and I've made every one of my court appearances to their chagrin, you know, because I'll come in and make the stand. You know, I mean, I could run and hide, but I don't. You know, I come in and I face off with them, and I make the stand. You know,
and make sure you're surrounded by others that know what's happening, so that if they do harm you further, you have witnesses to harm. We also need to get it recorded. Everybody needs to carry a camera with them. Everybody needs to document what's going on. You need to watch out for your neighbors. And everybody's neighbors are just sitting there, no, it won't happen to me. Yes, it will. I can guarantee you that if it's not happening to you now, it will. I can guarantee this because this system runs on the first and second welfare theorem and Pareto's rule. And nobody is left untouched, including these judges. There are laws in place that redistribute these judges, that redistribute these corporations, that redistribute everything. Nothing will be left untouched, and I can guarantee that this will happen to you. And if you don't protect your brother right here talking to you, Mr. Fox, then who's going to protect you? It makes me sick what everybody's doing. I can ask somebody right here, right now, what is your weather like? And they will tell me, hold on, let me go check the Weather Channel. They're not even going outside anymore. They're not going around each other, and we have to get back into community. This is how a predator preys on any other biology. If you watch a lion hunt, it gets its prey onto the edge of the herd and then attacks it. And here, everybody's sitting here. They're in their homes. They're never going outside. They're never meeting each other, and they're allowing criminalization after criminalization after criminalization, and there is no crime occurring. And the crimes that are occurring are perpetrated by the police. Poly means many. Side means to kill. Policy is the action of killing many. Police are the actor that kills many. People have to wake up. Absolutely. And this has always been the same.
They're the most dangerous thing around.
Absolutely, and that's their only function. That's their function. We're taught that there's some kind of law enforcement. There is no law on the books in this country today. Everything is statute. Everything is code. Statute is a statement of compulsion. It has nothing to do with public law. Absolutely nothing. There is no law enforcement. There's statute enforcement, and there's killers. Thomas Erbs was hung on Father's Day and left in his daddy's garage for his daddy to find him. There are teenagers, if you look at the disappearance of teenagers, when a teenager disappears and they're found in a river, look that up, Google it. That's not the only one. It happens all the time. These cops are killing our kids. They're leaving them in the woods. They're raping our kids, leaving them out for you to find them, and then blaming each other.
You're going to love this one, Tammy. In Jacksonville, Texas, where they attacked me, they had a so-called police officer from their pretend police department. His name was Larry Pugh, and he raped some 30 women in the cemetery. A badge, a gun, and a uniform, raping some 30 women. Now, why wasn't it stopped after 1 or 3? How did they ever get beyond 5? Well, the fact
they were scared to death.
The police department protected the guy. The city management protected him. The county management protected him. It took the FBI coming in from another county to get the guy. They brought him into federal court. He promptly bonded out, and then the witnesses immediately started disappearing. He was working on number 4 when the belt that he was using to strangle her broke, and she got away. The other 3 were found decomposing in the forest. And then when I'm in trial, and the people are listening to these police officers with their nonsense. I mean, and I'm like flabbergasted that anybody could believe such crap.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
When they killed, when they killed George, George Zane Kahn was a psychologist at the Georgia University. They came out in the news and reported that he had killed his wife, her friend, and then he went up into the Georgia mountains and buried himself before shooting himself in the head. He was teaching compulsive behavior and why you feel compelled to do what you do in this society. That's what a statute is. A statute is a statement of compulsion, and it makes you feel compelled to do and to be as per Pavlov's dog. It's a Pavlovian experiment. So here's all these statutes, and you're being driven to be more politically correct, more efficient at production. He was teaching this when he was murdered, and the sheeple believe this. You can Google it right now, George Zane Kahn, Georgia University. They said that he had run up into the Georgia mountains, buried himself, and then shot himself in the head. And the sheeple believe this. He was a God-fearing man. He was a beautiful soul, and he was teaching the sheeple why they are feeling compelled to do what they do. And he was murdered in cold blood, and the sheeple allow this to occur. His own community allows this to occur. If you follow through, this happened in 2009. If you follow through this year, his estate is finally almost fully redistributed by trading his children and having a custody battle perpetrated by the courts and each individual. You can watch from inception to extension what they do to us and what they do to anybody who comes up against them.
Yeah, they break you. They break your spirit. They break you financially. They break you emotionally. And then they step on you.
Absolutely.
If you let them.
Right. And it's called it's actually called low-intensity conflict. And so you never believe that this is a war happening against you. This is a war. You are a victim of a war. It's called low-intensity conflict. And it's break institutions that are outside of policy. Family is an institution. Community is an institution. Marriage is an institution. These people are horrifying at the ability to divide and conquer. Mr. Fox has been divided from his community each and every time that law enforcement shows up at his house and his neighbor says, "Must have done something wrong." Every time. Nobody stood up for him. He's been kidnapped. Now, are your neighbors going to feel bad about themselves when you're shot in the head, if you're ever shot in the head?
Well, they'd say that, well, he had it coming.
Right. And then they're going to pay the predator. They will pay the law enforcement officer who shoots you in the head more money because they will feel protected unless everybody stands up. This can happen to every one of us. This has happened over and over and over and over and over again. Jerry and Joe Kane were father and son. They murdered a baby, 16 years old, in cold blood after they executed their own officers. It is time to stand up. That is a baby. I have spoken to his mother. She is broken. These are our children that they're murdering. These are our husbands that they're murdering. You realize what they do to the females after this? And Jesus spoke about this in Matthew. Jesus spoke about the predation on females when the disciples were with him. He was talking to them and they said, well, what if her husband dies? Is she going to be given off to the brother and that brother and that brother and that brother? And he says, no. No, when that which is perfect has come, she no longer has to marry because there's no state to prey on her. She doesn't have to be wrapped up in the male's protection because there's nobody there to prey on her. Enough is enough. I'm a widow. My husband was killed in 2000, and I have been preyed on continuously by the same system, quote, protecting me with the Violence Against Women Act, Crimes Against Children Act, and all these privacy laws that they implement to prey on us. Enough is enough. We have to stand now and protect each other.
Well, you're a miracle.
I speak your word. This is your truth. You've never spoken anything but your truth. And here they are. They vilified the male in order to prey on the female and children of our society. They've had to vilify you. This is a metaphor of removing all the firstborn sons. They have to do that. Otherwise, you would rise up against them in a heartbeat and protect us. All this time you've been paying them.
That's exactly right. And how, I am the firstborn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if they didn't vilify you and criminalize you each and every single day, falsely accuse you, and keep you in a subjugated state, you would have already risen up and protected us before now.
Oh, I've risen up again and again. I went down to Waco when the Branch Davidian thing was happening. I went down there 7 times. I was arrested twice.
Right.
I didn't even know those people, but I knew what was happening to them was wrong.
Right. They did the same thing with the other one that was nailed a couple of years ago, and they went into they were Mormons. They did the same thing. They falsely accused Mormons. Why? They were off the grid. They grow their own food. They help each other. They're a community. They pay no taxes. And Caesar doesn't like that. Now, they're nailing people out in California now for distributing raw milk. Raw milk. Now, I will tell you something, that pasteurization started in France. Louis Pasteur was France. I have to get my brie imported from France because they can't make it here in the United States. France does not regulate its milk, and they do not pasteurize their milk. Why is that?
Because it's better without that.
Absolutely, but why? When they cook and pasteurize milk, milk turns into lactose. You have a lot of sugar. It's called lactose. Without the preceding lipid, and you consume lactose, you cannot digest lactose, and you have diabetes. That is what diabetes is. You can never go into the galactose phase when you're ingesting lactose. Corn is almost entirely lactose. Corn syrup is entirely lactose. This is the medical industry. This is how they kill you, slowly. This is how they generate revenue, slowly. There is one place in the United States that makes insulin. You can buy insulin for $5 for a gallon or $60 for 2 teaspoons. The one that's $5 a gallon is called antifreeze. It's glycolic acid. And the one that's called insulin is $60 for 2 teaspoons.
Really? Oh, my God.
This is your own country doing this to you. They feed you lactose, milk products that have been pasteurized, and corn. They tell you that corn is good for you. They have corn filler and everything now to create and maintain diabetes.
It seems like they use us as the disposal mechanism.
Absolutely.
To get rid of toxic substances. They feed it to us, and we eat it. Well, I don't, but...
Well, almost all the corn now is genetically modified by Monsanto.
Right. That's right.
And the reason they feed it to you is to create the need for medicine. They have to have a need, otherwise what happens to the supply and demand aspect of Pareto's rule?
And it's a great big revolving door. It's a never-ending thing.
Absolutely.
It all ties in with the control mechanism, along with keeping the population down and with the money,
and making
the banking cartel. I mean, it's all
right. And you're the one that backs the dollar bill. That's the greatest backing is the human being, because you produce from the time you're born till the time you die, and you will be sick in between there. You will require medicine. You will pay for insurance. You will pay for medicine. You will produce in taxation and consumption, by psychology, and by court process. There's only 3 major forms of production across the globe. The first one is taxation and consumption. You buy things, you pay your taxes, you do your 40 hours a week. Second one is psychology, medicine, and death. The third one is by criminalization. There is no other form of production. You are owned by the attorney. You are owned by the law. And
only if you let them. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to know who you are in order to do that.
Absolutely, and you need to realize your own authority and govern yourself. Stop asking it to prey on you. Stop paying it to prey on you. And then
stop requiring a leader.
Right. Absolutely, because you walk in truth. Humanity doesn't harm itself. It's impossible for us to harm each other. We don't have those intentions. We don't have that mindset. Psychopathy is capable of harm because it views the human being as an object or a thing or something to maintain a benefit of some kind. Human beings don't view each other as that. And the psychopath is less than 3% of our entire population. There's 97% of us out here that are not psychopathic, and we need to start gathering in the communities. We are more in numbers.
How can we allow them to be doing what they're doing?
They can only do that with the law. Because the numbers are so low, that's what they do. They use the law to put us in fear of them, in fear of each other, because they have not only the control of the mechanism and operation of law in the courts, they have the media as well. So in the media, you're watching and they're presenting to us, you guys are killing each other. Every night, if you turn on the TV, you can see on the nightly news as they blame us for what they're doing. As they slaughter us, as they rape our children, as they do all these things, they're blaming us, and we're believing this. We're believing this because somebody else who's on that media is a different color or a different religion than we are. We're allowing us to be pit and polarized from each other. And these are our brothers and sisters.
We're allowing ourselves to be programmed.
Absolutely. And we need to get away from all of this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, we have some people waiting in line to ask you questions. They've been waiting an awfully long time. Robert, you want to just stay on the call, or do you want me to mute you out, or what?
Yeah, you can mute me out, and I'll just stay and listen.
Okay, baby. If you want to say anything.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the care and support that I've gotten from people that are just listening and not saying anything.
Love you, brother. Be well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Alrighty. Okay. Let's see here. We have Truth Freedom. Did you have a question?
Yes, hello.
Hello. I need you to speak right up now because we can barely hear you.
Okay, how's this?
That's good. Thank you.
That's better.
Wait a minute. Okay, is that good? Okay. I was afraid that this was going to be a boring call about statutes and all that kind of stuff, but I see that you are totally aware of the things that we are facing on the large plane of things. I am in total agreement, and they call us conspiracy theorists. However, these are conspiracy facts.
Absolutely.
And
everything
these
is real.
criminals have been outed. Do you understand? Right. They are not as calm and serene as they portray themselves to be. They know their window of opportunity is closing on them. And I say we need to stand up as well. I think a lot of the stuff that they are trying to perpetrate upon us are scare tactics. They shock us every day, 2 or 3 times a day. It used to be once a year.
Remember when George Bush, he said when they invaded Iraq that they were going to use shock and awe? They used it on us.
Oh, yeah. They're using it on us.
9/11 was a big shock and awe.
Oh, yeah. The thing that I can't stand about these creatures is their modus operandi, how they try to target individuals, but more importantly, how they are trying to demoralize us and are demoralizing us with these laws. The last one that just really blew my mind was saying that bestiality was okay inside of the military.
Right.
This is something that
I didn't hear that one.
Temporarily insane.
Oh my God! Really? That one, I didn't know about that one.
Yes. And so, how dare they?
They're running amok. I swear.
That's not even the word for it. They are psychopathic monsters.
Absolutely.
And they need to be shut down by any means necessary. Why are we allowing dual citizens to take over our government? They don't have our best interests in mind at all. Not
Absolutely.
At all.
They're not citizens. Attorney Biden is an attorney, senator, vice president. Attorney Obama is an attorney, senator, president. And Attorney Clinton is attorney, senator, secretary of state. They are not citizens of the United States or any other. They're citizens of the bar. They have given their allegiance over to the Bar Association as an attorney. They never expatriated. Absolutely.
And Lucifer, they have given their allegiance over to the devil. However, I'm talking about all the rest of these jokers who are dual citizens of Israel and the United States. What's up with this?
Well, they actually give up their citizenship. They expatriate, don't they? They have to.
No.
They have to give up their oath.
They might say that they're doing it, but they don't act like it. We're over there fighting all these wars for Israel. It's not helping us at all.
No, and this is the UN. This is the UN codifying Palestine again. They did the same thing as the League of Nations when they were codifying here in Bolshevik Russia. What they do is the attorneys go in and they tell us that we're killing each other, so then we fight each other. We are their armies. That's what people need to understand. They're fearful. They're fearful that they're going to be retaliated against by some unknown army. We have always been their armies due to patriotism. They are codifying Palestinians. They're codifying. These are attorneys going in there.
What do you mean by codifying?
What they're doing is they went in there, okay, and they said, well, they get you as a citizen, as a civilian. They teach you civil law, etiquette. Okay, this is all based on psychology. So they go into a country and they say, those people live like animals. Their houses are not up to code. Who's facilitating code? Attorneys are. These attorneys are going in there and they're allowing us to pay for them to raise these countries. They're raising, R-A-Z-E, raise, as in burn it to the ground. So here the UN goes into Palestine and they're starting to bulldoze Palestinian homes because they're not up to code. Who owns those homes now? The attorney does. Who owns the land? The attorneys do. They're raising it for Congress. Congress is we the people of the Atlantic Charter. Congress has the authority. Congress determines if they're going to implicate democracy or a republic against somebody, and there's no such thing. There's absolutely no such thing.
I'm a proponent of getting rid of the UN. I'm a proponent of getting rid of the American Medical Association, the FDA, the EPA, the Congress, and the President.
The IRS.
We need to get rid of them all, especially people who are dual citizens or used to be dual citizens of Israel or any place else and come here and think that they're going to railroad us. Do you realize that they're teaching in Harvard and I don't know how many other colleges, but I know there's a man at Harvard by the name of Ignatieff who is teaching that white people need to be abolished.
Absolutely.
And anybody who does not agree with him, has a mental illness. If you don't agree with him, something's wrong with your mind. This is the kind of stuff you're sending your children to college to learn.
Absolutely, and in public schools. And everybody needs to read the entirety of the 1947 National Security Act. We are all targets. We are all targets. The Department of Justice created a new court just a few years ago. Congress is the one that can implement courts, correct? The Department of Justice implemented a new court called mental health courts. They are in 22 states. You can be put in a mental institution to the tune of $18,000 per month in generated revenue for these people. You can be there for a year before you can get a hearing. They can make allegations against you using a ringer psychologist or psychiatrist, and you will not go to a hearing for a year. These are under the Emergency Management Acts. These are under their emergency rules. This is what Hitler did. Hitler was not a racist. He was following policy. The Bear Corporation came in and indemnified Poland when they did the Polish occupation. They asked the Permanent Court of International Justice to indemnify the Polish citizenry because they were not producing. The Bear Corporation. Aspirin, baby aspirin, the Bear Corporation. The Bear Corporation was the Hitler. Hitler was just a mouthpiece. These are corporations. Under any kind of national security, it has nothing to do with federal or public law. Each nation is a foreign government. They are foreign to the United States. Each nation is each municipality. They are corporations. Each nation is each county. They are corporations. Your sheriff is a corporation. Your court is a corporation.
Your local mental health department is a corporation.
When did it start being this way?
When they started imparting the enabling statutes, they're called acts of enablement. And Hitler
Probably when they
took
away the gold.
Right. They did the same thing in 1933 when
What president was in office?
All of them. I mean, it started way back at Lincoln. Lincoln was adhering to the doctrines of necessity. The Expatriation Act happened 3 days before the 14th Amendment. It had nothing to do with expatriating the slaves and everything to do with expatriating the attorney. The attorney is able to expatriate and repatriate under the bar. Lincoln.
And what does that mean exactly?
They have a different landlord. They give their allegiance over to the Bar Association. The bar is the British Accreditation Registry. The registry is Dun & Bradstreet. President Lincoln worked for Dun & Bradstreet as a credit reporter during that time. His allegiance was with the UK, with the courts.
Do all lawyers know this? Do all lawyers know this?
I believe there might be some innocent lawyers or attorneys that are new, but most in the administration, all in human resources and administration, all in the administrative code sector of each state or nation. You want to target people like Patrick Leahy, he's a pedophile. Joseph Biden is a pedophile. You need to look closely at what commissions and what committees they are on. They are pedophiles. They're implementing privacy laws.
The reason why any of them are in the positions that they are in is they have to be interviewed before they can get in, and unless they can be blackmailed and compromised, they don't get in.
Absolutely. They have to have some skeletons in their closet, and that's what they did with Larry Craig.